Hello, everyone, and welcome to List Crunch. I'm Skari, your grateful host, and this is the weekly Friday Patreon show, bonus patron show that I do every Friday, where patrons get to submit an army list for Warhammer 3000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, a variety of different things, and what I do is read over them and fix the list, give my thoughts, and essentially just help the development of a list specifically. Every once in a while, I open the vaults to the bonus content that I do behind the scenes and put it out for all of you to enjoy. Today we've got, I think, 4 or 5 lists that we're going to be looking at, and it's a chance for you to sit back, relax. It's a great tool that I'm sure a lot of the patrons are going to be using when the edition changes and we get all the rules and things like that, and I'll be able to bring my 20-some years of expertise to help folks build and hone their lists a lot faster than they might be able to do if they didn't have some outside input. I'm really looking forward to going over these with you today, and if you have any questions or anything, we are in the chat. So the chat's live, everything's good to go, and it's such a nice day today. I got my tea, which is what happens. Tim Hortons, the Canadianist of Canadian things. Oh, also hockey. Even though lacrosse is technically the national sport, not hockey. Yeah, that was a little tidbit that I found out as I have been living in Canada for a long time now. Very excited to get to it. Also, happy Easter to anybody of you who celebrates Easter. Happy is a Good Friday today. I had a day off. Sun was shining. It was beautiful outside. Hey, Kyle. What's going on? Thanks for coming to say hello. Delicious. Don't worry. We'll get to the lists. Okay. There tends to be a couple of minutes of me rambling. I'm sure someone can put timestamps in the comments of when I talk about each list. Actually, that might be a good idea for me to do so that all of you can see that and can skip all my incessant rambling. Oh, I also, little sneak peek for all of you who didn't see it already, put all my Dark Eldar on this giant table, and my Eldar and my Harlequins, and essentially I'm taking like an inventory of everything that I have, and it's going to be awesome because come the new edition, I'll be able to kind of cook up lists and see like what works, what doesn't work, and like, you know, how the composition of an army is supposed to go and things like that. It'll be very, very cool. Also, best t-shirt company ever. Hey, Mitchell. What's going on, Mitchell? Good day to you as well. Thanks for coming to hang out. We had a nice little paint stream on Twitch earlier today, which was really awesome. Okay, let's dive in. Paul says, "Hi, Skari. Going for a local Rogue Trader tournament soon. For anybody who doesn't know, a Rogue Trader tournament is a small 12 to 20 people event, usually. And I'm thinking about a fun alternative to the more shooty builds I've been running lately. Both a variant of your Terra-based MSU and a Corsair-heavy gunboat list. Cool. Now, Corsairs, by the way, are a unit that I own 10 of, and I would love to kind of fit them into more lists, personally. My thinking was to have the Tantalus and Raiders as a highly mobile first melee shock in turn 2, with which I ideally do some damage, and potentially even tri-point stuff. Yep, you know, tri-pointing is always a good strategy to prevent return firepower. Secondaries would be behind enemy lines, banners, and data. Those are pretty behind enemy lines, banners / data, take them alive, sure, with the opportunity of other killy secondaries, and potentially even the fear and terror for good measure. Yes. Especially if you have against like certain builds, fear and terror is quite a good one. You know, if you can make them fail morale or they need to fall back for their army to function. Like, I find fear and terror works great into like Harlequins. Now, I'm using it less and less, but that's, you know, just because we have like 2 good ones now that we can do consistently. We've got behind enemy lines and retrieve data that Dark Eldar could just do great, or banners. And it's that third one that you usually just switch it up. So against Harlequins, you could do fear and terror for like, or you could go for like take them alive, which is what I normally go for, or, you know, bring it down, or whatever it is you need to do. Do you have any thoughts? Yes, I will give you my thoughts. I am still unsure about the obsession for the vehicles. It feels fun to have them as killy as possible, but having them too killy could lead to them being exposed. It runs a higher risk of the opponent failing morale and hence being able to pull out of combat. Yes, slash a dry point. That's a very... Any advice welcome. Absolutely, Paul. Let's dive into this. This is a melee-heavy Drukari build. 20 different units. That's good. My army has about 24, so it's like MSU still. 13 assassinate points, 9 bring it down, 12 no prisoners, and 0 Polar Witch. Yeah, so decent. Doesn't give up a lot of secondaries, so it's not terrible. Let's jump into the list. It's a real space raid detachment with a Court of the Archon, Lamian, 4 Slith, 4 Urgle. 2 Urgle. You're 2 Urgle short there. Nah, I like the 4 Urgles. An Archon with Ancient Evil, the Blast Pistol, the Husk Blade, Jin Blade, and so Ancient Evil, Jin Blade. Cool. Drazar, who cannot be the Warlord when he's in a real space raid detachment. A Homunculus with the Animus and the Twisted Animator, and he is a master. That makes sense. A Succubus with Show Stealer, the Triptych Whip, and Precision Blows, I would hope. Yeah, Precision Blows. So the 3 main killy characters, and then the Homunculus, who's more a tech piece when you're running a real space raid. Then we have 3, 3, and 3 Grotesques, and then 5, 5, and 5 Incubi. Decent amount of elites. A Tantalus, which would be Custom Coven. What's your coven that you're running? Does it say, or you just... Oh, okay, so you don't know. Custom Cult, Custom Coven. Interesting. 2 Raiders, Custom Coven, Custom Coven, Custom Coven, with Chain Snares, Dissies, Grizzlies, and Shock Prows. Now, those are definitely some very expensive, like, Raiders. The Disintegrated Cannon, like, if you do them Dark Technomonster with the Tantalus, that's great. You have lots of shooting. I just find that every time I've done that, and I've run lists with, like, 7 Disintegrated Cannon Raiders that are Dark Technomonster, I've always been really disappointed in how it turns out, to be honest. Matthew, good afternoon. Happy Good Friday to you as well. Not sure how I'm feeling about the preview for 10th. Doesn't seem too simplified. Well, we'll see. Like, honestly, I think, like, we'll talk a little bit about 10th as we go throughout this video, like, from what Games Workshop has released. I really like what they've shown so far. Like, it's like, it seems like each faction is going to have, like, a rule that just makes them their faction, and then you just use that rule. It seems pretty straightforward, but we'll see how in-depth it can get based on, something like that. Like, if you play, like, a boarding action, all the factions get something simple, but the gameplay is what, like, the mission and the gameplay is what really, like, makes it worth its while. Yeah, anyway. So, Paul, let's dive into your list here. So you're doing decent amount of close combat. Oh, and then I didn't see this, but you've got Hemoxites. You've got, which is great, 10 Hemoxites. You've got 5 Cabs, and then 3 squads of Witches, all of 5. So I'm assuming you do Incubi Witches, Incubi Witches, Incubi Witches in the Raiders, right? And then you do Cab-Light Warriors in the Tantalus, just to have, like, or do you do, I guess you could put 15 things, or you could put all the Grotesques in the Tantalus, That's 12 plus the characters. Like, there's a variety of ways you could, like, mount everything up into the transports. I feel like what this list is missing, if you want to do close combat, is, like, a unit of Hellions. Just, like, 8 Hellions or 10 Hellions. Like, in this list, I feel like you could just drop the court. I know, imagine me saying that. And then take Hellions instead. Just to give you something that can, like, go and fight, but doesn't necessarily have to be in a boat and has, like, crazy threat range to kind of adapt to where it goes. The concept is, like, I see the concept, and it works well. And, you don't want it to be too killy, but you want it to be killy. So this list relies a lot on the grotesques and the incubi and the characters. So you do have 9 like killy characters. You've got the ability to score points with your Hemoxites. But other than that, you don't really have much other like obsec. So a lot of the times with Dark Eldar, I play the denying primary game, which you can do with witches, but you're going to run out of those little tools very quickly. Like enemy armies shoot and do a lot of damage. Scott says the Tantalus is such a great model. I agree. I think the Tantaluses are great. That's why my next couple lists I'll be running have 3 Tantali in them, because I think they're really fun. And I borrowed 2, so I own 1, so I'm going to have to run at 3, right, before the end of the edition, just to play some games. But I'm going to be doing more, like, aggro. So, like, something else you could maybe see about doing is like condensing the sizes of the squad so they hit a little harder and are more efficient with stratagems. So, if you do, like, the 3 units of 3 grotesques, you know, you've got 9 grotesques. I would try and find the points to make sure that you can run 2 squads of 5 grotesques instead, because as 5, like, or even drop a grotesque and run 2 squads of 4. I find that 2 squads of 4 or 2 squads of 5 will do a lot more for you than, or you could do 1 of 4, 1 of 5. Just having like a chunkier unit to do damage, I think, will really help like what you're trying to achieve with this list, which is like hit stuff, tie them in combat, and things like that. Like, tri-pointing can be really good, but you're going to have to try and use the witches to, like, tie things in combat with their no escape rule to make it harder for your opponent to get out of the way. As for the raiders, you don't really need the chain snares on the raiders. You know, the shock prow, maybe 1 or 2 shock prows, but you could save 15, 20 points just on, like, that sort of thing. And I would honestly go back to lances on the raiders. Even Dark Technomons lances, so they get extra damage and +1 to wound. Like, I cannot tell you how much I love my Dark Lances. They're so good. Hey, Bruce, what's going on? Hey, Sindri, thanks for coming to say hello and hanging out today on Friday as we do the good old list crunch. It's like an open vault list crunch for everybody to hang out and enjoy. By the way, huge shout out to all of you watching. If you'd like me to do more of these, you can click the like button so that the algorithm picks it up, and leave a comment down below as to what your favorite list is or what you're excited about in 10th edition, just to help, you know, the algorithm pick these live streams up, because I find I do a lot of live streams and then like YouTube doesn't really show them off to people. So, you know, so a little bit of engagement maybe will help these videos get noticed a bit more. Is it the coffee time crunch? List crunch, as you can see. It's a cereal bowl, because you can't start your competitive journey without a nice bowl of list crunchos, and they're delicious, and it is a play on words, and I makes it very funny. Good day, Greenblood. How are you? Okay, so Paul, I hope that helps you with your list. Just giving you a couple of thoughts. This is the first list I've seen from you, I believe. So kind of hopefully that gives you some ideas. You know, I feel you could even drop like Drazar, like in a real space raid, and use that 145 points on something else. And then give, like, to be honest, if I ran a real space raid, I would run Prophets of Flesh, just because the Homunculus can have the mask, and then I could make my Archon Hatred Eternal for reroll hits and wounds. So I have like a mini Drazar, I have a Fight Last, and an Ignore Overwatch, and then I've got my Show Stealer Succubus. And I'd kind of build that around, you know, then they get like the mini transhuman, and they can heal and things like that as well. Bruce says YouTube is very bad for showing live streams, not just for your channel. Yeah, it's like terrible. But you know, if you'd like to share it and help it on its way, that would be great. Then again, I don't do these very often for like the general public. This is a Patreon show. The best way to support me is on Patreon. The link is in the description. Okay, let's dive in. Kyle, thank you for submitting this poll. I appreciate it. Okay, Kyle submitted a list as well. Says, hey, Scary. Hey, Kyle. My main question is the last 15 points that I have. That's a very specific list build help. I turned the second cultist squad into a traitor guardsman that gave me the Raptor's Sergeant to Power Sword. Nice. However, I could do things like give the Killy Disco Lord a mark or the Legionnaires a mark, Also wondering if a greater blight drone or blood slaughter is better. Thoughts? Cool, let's take a look at this. Hey, I'm starting a Drukari army because my friend said I look like someone who is playing Drukari, says Peter. Awesome, Peter. I wish you had more games on YouTube because I can learn a lot from you. Well, you know, some games are on YouTube, some games are on the Patreon, some games are all over the place. But I am going to be trying to do more like matched play 2K, but I think I'd do it more in a live stream setting and then maybe live stream it and record it and then post it on YouTube because YouTube just is better that way, and then do the live streams on like Twitch. So that's the next step. John has a fantastic, John the Cron, who I play all the time, has a really fun aggro shooty list that he wants to show off, and he wants to just murder my Dark Eldar. So I think we might show that off. And then come in 10th, I have some cool plans for like, you know, the kind of things I would like to show off or do, you know, when I get like when we have access to all the information, and I'm really excited to like show it off to all of you as well. But yeah, anything from writing articles to playing videos. Thanks for coming to hang out, Peter. I appreciate it. Okay, let's take a look at this list, Kyle. Yeah, so you've got 15 points. Now, my gut, just from reading your paragraph, is telling me that you should give your Lord Discordant a Mark of Chaos. And by mark, I mean you should give him the Tzeentch mark, because it makes him much, much harder to kill. Yeah, if that's 15 points. So, Red Corsairs, it's great. They have advance and charge, right? Which makes them very, very, very fast. You've got Lord Discordant on Hellstalker. That's 2 Lord Discordant on Hellstalkers. Oof. You gave one Uloka the Black, so he's undivided. And then you have one that's Mark of Tzeentch. Oh, well, you already gave them marks. So, that doesn't matter there. Master Possession. With Tzeentch, yeah. Vashtor. Oh, you're bringing Vashtor the Archfane. Interesting. How is Vashtor, by the way? Have you like got a chance to try him out? You know, he seems like a really fun character to play, and I guess his army of renown is very focused on like the demon machines, right? Yeah. Okay, cultist. So if you've already given them the mark, then if you have 15 points, I have 15 points left. Then on the Legionnaires, I think for sure to give them like give them a psychic power or whatever. Or just to keep them alive longer against like mortars. You know, you can hide them. They ignore the first failed save, you know, and it just keeps them around longer. Cultist mob, Legionnaires with Undivided. You know, either that or make the other Lord Discordant to Tzeentch one. And then go for one of the relics that's like Mortal Wounds or Ignoring Impulse or something. Like, there's some really crazy relics that you can give those guys. 9 more Guardsmen. With a 9, 10. Oh, the Traitor Guardsman. Another thing you could do is just upgrade the other Cultist mob to Traitor Guardsman. But 3 Decimators with the Soul Burners. Get some Mortal Wound output. Okay, a Greater Blight Drone. The Raptors with their Power Sword. The Venom Crawler. I love the Venom Crawler. And a single Forge Fiend with Ectoplasmic Cannons. So within the list itself, I think the Greater Blight Drone is great. Gives you some like speed, maneuverability. The Decimators are awesome. I don't think you need to change those. They're really, really good for what you get. They're a little squishy, but you know, you've got the Archfane in there, so that should lead to them like surviving more often than not. You've also have the Forge Fiend, so using like your command points effectively to get that Forge Fiend up and running would be really useful to make sure you can maximize on your output. And then if you have 15 points left over, yeah, if you've got Balefire Tome on the Legionary, you might as well just give them the Mark of Tzeentch. You know, give them the Mark of Tzeentch so that they survive a little longer, because you only have like these 3 like OPSEC units. You know, so keeping them alive longer is going to be super important for you to win missions. You know, everything else can do a lot of damage, but like having the Legionnaires just be a little bit more survivable will mean the difference between like them dying to like just bolter fire or whatever, and then living to like come back and, you know, and be able to score you points. So that's my opinion. I feel like that's actually better in the list concept itself. Well, that seems like you're having fun. Double Lord Discordant in Red Corsairs seems incredibly aggro, and I absolutely love it. I would hate to play against that as my Dark Eldar. I'll tell you that right now. But thank you for posting a list, Kyle. I really appreciate it. And hopefully you have fun with it towards the end of the edition here. Okay, next list we have Paul Radcliffe. Now Paul is taking this list to, yeah, here he is. I'm looking at lists for the RTT I'm going to tomorrow. And notice a lot of Chaos players taking 3 Chaos Spawn. And I think I understand why. What a very point-efficient way to screen out the backfield. 100%. Or if you're playing Khorne Berserkers and World Eaters, it's a great way of getting, not only scoring the, getting in the backfield, but you can sacrifice them to get Blood Tithe points quickly. I could drop 1 squad of Poxwalkers and a few upgrades to get all 3. I wish I could change it before the RTT tomorrow. So you don't have them for the RTT tomorrow. I think not necessarily 3, but I think you could get even just 2 spawn or even 1 spawn is very useful. 20 some points. You can hide it in the back corner. They have a little bit of hitting power if somebody sends a squishy unit to try and get points in the backfield or get behind enemy lines or whatever. So you can use them for mop up duty. You have to shoot them or attack them with a decent amount of attacks or things that are quite strong to get rid of them, because if you don't kill them in a phase, they regenerate, right? After the activation. So they're a cool little, no, unless they don't have that in Death Guard. They might not have that rule in Death Guard. Anyway, but they're cheap. So that's all that matters. So let's see what you've kind of cooked up here. Death Guard, Sorcerer, and Terminator armor. We went over that last time we talked about it. Interesting that there is a Sorcerer and Terminator armor for Chaos. Death Guard. Gives you an invul save. Gives you an extra wound and a 2-up armor, which is cool. Combi Melta Force Axe, yeah, not bad. Lord of Virulence with the Fulgaris Helm to increase the auras. Yep. Then we have 10 Poxwalkers. Yep. Yeah, makes sense. A Biologus Putrefier for the mortal wounds, I believe. Yep. Oh, did we already show off the guys that don't take up slots? No, they're not in here. You are playing Mortarion's Anvil, which is really annoying to get rid of, because you have no rerolls against it and stuff. Big unit Terminators with all the gubbins. Another unit of Terminators. This is 5 strong. Then 3 units of 3 Death Shrouds. Ugh, I love your list, Paul. This is it would be so annoying to kill everything. Foul Blight Spawn. Yep. Tallyman for the exploding 6s, and then 3 Chaos Spawn. I like the Chaos Spawn. I think they're good. 21 points is really good for what they do, especially because you want to, in this style of list, you want to get really kind of use the Terminators on the board presence, so it allows you to kind of have little crap units that can help zone, while your big killy Terminators move and advance up the table and sort of push the opponent off the objectives. The last thing you want to have to do when you have so many points invested on Terminators is use 200 points of your list to sit on your back objective. You know what I mean? That's the worst feeling, because you're ugh, I wish these Terminators would be in the thick of it doing stuff. So being able to put a 21 point spawn behind a building on an objective, just sitting there getting you points, is a very effective way of scoring points in a game. Can vouch, says Matthew, Paul's Death Guard list is incredibly difficult to kill. Yeah, well, that's good. That's the whole point of this list. I'm assuming it's not as difficult to kill as your Dark Angel Terminators, Matthew, even though they do have -1 damage, and they've got a 4-up invul save as well built in and stuff. They don't have feel no pains, and they can't bring models back from the dead. Chaos Sub Nicholas says Chaos Spawn are also summoned in a lot of Age of Sigmar stuff. Different game, obviously. Yep, Chaos Spawn you know, I think they're a very useful unit. They've got a big base size, so they have a bigger impact on the area around them, you know, for deep striking or stopping reserves from coming in. So, and they're cheap. That's the thing. They're cheap. They're also a great unit that you could like run up and throw into the middle of the board to like do an act. They can't do actions, but like to sit there and go, if you don't come out and kill it or come take it off this objective, I'm gonna get points. It's 21 points. Meanwhile, my Terminators are gonna go on this side and like attack these objectives. You know, so it like the list itself looks great. I think it's a good sort of like variation to what you had before. I do miss the fact that you don't have any mowers in there, though. I do miss the mowers. They're really good. But thank you very much, Paul, for posting a list, and best of luck at the tournament tomorrow. I hope you enjoy it, and roll lots of dice, and take lots of fertilizer for Nurgle's garden. Hey, Maxwell, what's going on? Your list is, I think, after Phil's. But we'll take a look at your list, your Black Templars, which will be really nice. Okay, so Phil, that was really nice seeing you at the Kenhammer team tournament, and I'm glad you came back with like some really cool information and knowledge. It's been awesome to see you develop this list from, you know, when we were doing coaching calls together, all the way to now, where you're like, you know, you're running with it. And I love seeing you out there playing in Ari and like doing well with it, which is really, really cool. Was watching the Tau tier list at the Art of War. Forgot about time. Yeah, time is time. Time definitely has lots of time. But we will get to your list, Maxwell, so worry not. Okay. Changing my Inari list to drop most of my 10 model blobs and incorporate a Twilight Patrol of Harlequins with 2x5 troops and boats. You know, I did notice that as I was copy-pasting your list. I'm not unopposed to that. I actually like it. You know, I'm curious to see like what your thought process is with it. But instead of having like one big block of Harlequins, you're like, okay, I'm going to run two smaller ones and have more of like a toolkit Harlequin like set in my back pocket. I'm trying to add more screens and small trading pieces. Harlequins are a great trading piece, so that's good. I want to have some fun with the Bullet Troop Master and a Super Death Jester. Yes, they are nasty. Lastly, trying to reduce my dependence on Psychic and buffs going off, and maybe use my Psychers more offensively to compensate for losing the Shadow Seer. All that put together, we have a bit more of an MSU feel in this list. I've had one practice game so far into Genestealer Cult, which went well, but needs more thought and testing into other matchups. One more note, in my practice game I took Sunstorm on my Farseer, but starting with 1 CP and no option to Phantasm feels rough. I would concur. I think if you're going to play Eldar in any form, you should have the CP in the bank to Phantasm every game. You don't have to do it every game, but you should be able to if you need to. Obsec is good, but the extra speed is wasted, since I pretty much always want the Farseer to be screened by the Warlocks if they are leaving the safety of my backline. Makes sense. Usually if you're doing Sunstorm, by the way, that's a relic bike you put on a Farseer or a Warlock on a jet bike, which makes them objective secured and really, really fast. So they can go and steal objectives at the last moment. They're really annoying to deal with, especially late game when, you know, things have died and things like that as well. Yeah, usually if you're going to use him more as a support character, there's no point in like sending him out there. Oscar says, cheers! I'm sipping chamomile bedtime tea here in late night Sweden. Well, cheers, Oscar. Thanks for coming in and say hello. Do you review incursion lists posted in the channel also? As it's the only size I play as a new player learning the game, plus being a resource in shortage. I will review lists that are posted for List Crunch. It could be 2,000 points, it could be 1,000 points, it can be a 500-point boarding patrol, it could be Necromunda, it can be Age of Sigmar, it can be Battlefleet Gothic. The way that you submit a list is you can be a Scourge, a Trueborn, or an Incubi level Patreon. And I put up a post every Friday, so you can put it directly on the Patreon page on that post, or in the Patreon bonus Discord, we have a channel for List Crunch, and most people just put all their lists in there throughout the course of the week. I compile them into this document, pow, and then we go through them every single week. And then every once in a while, I open it up to the public, like today, just to show it off and make everybody jealous of what I give my patrons every single week. Yep. Because it is awesome, and I love to. It's one of my favorite things to do. Sit down on a Friday with a cup of tea and like talk 40k or AOS or whatever. But any point level is fun. Okay, let's dive into your list, Phil. Oh, that tea went down the wrong way. Oh my gosh. I literally have tea coming out my nose. Hey, Phil, what's going on? I'm just about to dive into your list. That's great. Great timing. Okay, I'm going to say that. Oscar says, I believe I posted it early in the week, maybe in the wrong place. Yeah, so it's in the inner chamber or whatever like area, and it says List Crunch. It's towards the top. You'll have access to it as a Scourge or a Trueborn, and then you can just post it in there. I already compiled them for this week, so make sure you post it in for next week, and we'll make sure that we that I go through your list. Oh, okay. It was a. Let's try not to drink the tea so fast. Okay, so let's dive into the list, Phil. So you're running an Inari Arcs Detachment, right, with a Seer Council with 3 Skyrunners. Neat. Protect, Drink, Quick, and Restrain. Good series of powers. Farseer Skyrunner. Yeah, with Ancestors, Grace, and Ghostwalk for the charge bonus. I like that. The Incarn. We've said this many, many times. The Incarn is literally the Inari. Like, if you want to play Inari, you need to learn how to use the Incarn. So a lot of your success comes to understanding how to use the Incarn effectively, and that's fantastic. 5 Kabalite Warriors, 2 units of 5 Rangers. I love the addition of the Kabalites. Not gonna lie, it's a cheap objective security unit. You can just hide it in the back. Inconspicuous, doesn't really do much. You can just sit it in cover to get a 3-up cover save, like 3-up save in cover. Good. You know, I'm not going to say that's a bad thing. 10 Dire Avengers with Shuriken Catapult, and you didn't give them any sort of special thing? No, like, Shrine buff or anything? I guess they can, they're like, Shredding Fire can be pretty good with them, but I love the Dire Avengers. There's just so many shots, and they tend to do a lot more damage than you think. Then you have your Howling Banshees 5 with Piercing Strikes and the Mirror Swords and the Crone Scream. And then you have 5 Striking Scorpions with the Biting Blade, Crushing Blows. So that's like 2 classic Eldar units right now. The 5-man Howling Banshees and the 5-man Striking Scorpions, Crushing Blows, Piercing Strikes. Like that's those two 5-man units are incredibly killy. And then you give them all the cool Inari stuff, and they just kind of cranks them up to 11. Phil says, there are no points left for an Exarch upgrade, but I need to give them double Avenger Catapult at Battlescribe. Yes, your Exarch only has 1 catapult, so you're leaving 1 that is free on the table. Then we have 3 Shining Spears with the Heart Strike and Kane's Lance and the Paragon Saber. So, Shining Spears are great. This is something that goes to everyone. You don't need 5 to make it work. That Exarch, by himself, or by herself, literally does most of the work of that unit. So I was kind of like helping somebody build a Eldar list, and I was like, hey, Shining Spears, you know, countercharge unit or whatever, and I put a little 3-man unit in, and they're like, oh, well, everybody in my community says I need to take 5 or don't take any at all. And I kind of always go to this list and go, no, like, you can use 3, and they are a lot killy than you think, and they're easier to hide, so you don't, like, they don't just get blown off the table. So, I like that. 3 Shroud Runners. They're really good. I really like that strat they can use to, like, wire weave net or whatever and slow people down the entire time, kind of like Tanglefoot grenades. I feel like that's like a low-key, really useful tool, especially against like slow-moving Terminators and things like that, where you can be like, "Oh, big assault Terminator unit, slow down, slow down, slow down," you know, like, and that can be really useful. Then we have the support weapon platform with 3D cannons. They are incredible. I love those things a lot. Wire Weave is amazing. I forgot to use it in my last game versus Knights. Yeah, Wire Weave, that's it. It can be game winning. It's such a game winning stratagem. And then you have your Detachment of Twilight. Okay, so this is like your new thing that you're adding in. It's only 500 points of your army. 550 points. So that's what I would expect for like a support element to a list. You know, anywhere from 400 to 600 points. So it doesn't take up the whole list, but it's a chunk, and it should give you some good like tactical, you know, advantages, right? Hey Jimmy, what's going on? So you have a Troop Master with a foot in the future, Fusion Pistol, Harlequin's Kiss, Queen of Shards, Champion of the Aeldari. Now, the Champion of the Aeldari, you can take that if you have a Aeldari Warlord, is that right? Because I know, for example, you can't do that in like a Drukari army unless you make the Eldar, like the Harlequin, the Warlord, and the Patrol, which I think is like a weird thing you can do in a way. Champion of the Aeldari books on both Aeldari and Harlequins because it's the same book. Yes, okay. So because you have a Inari detachment, you can run the cool versions of a lot of these things. Because a lot of the times when I'm building like a Dark Eldar list or whatever, that I want to kind of build some of this stuff into. A lot of the times it's hard to do because of the fact that you can't do the Warlord traits. Like you can do the cool Queen of Shards and like all that stuff, but you can't do like any of the neat stuff, like super neat stuff. Now, Foot in the Future, Queen of Shards, crazy killy Troop Master is right up your alley. Very killy, very annoying, like incredible threat range. Use them effectively, and they will just go to town. Then you've got a couple of Harlequin troops. Kiss, Blade, 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 Pistol, 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 Kiss, Blade, 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 Pistol, Pistol, Pistol. Now, the fact that you only have one Kiss in the unit, I wish you could find the points to do like double Fusion, double Neuro, Kiss, Caress. Kiss, Caress, Embrace, to just have access to all of the strats. But like each unit would go up like 30 points. So you'd be paying like 100 points per troop. So in its capacity right now, that might work. Maybe instead do like one troop unit with a Kiss and a Caress or whatever, or do one with a Kiss, one with a Caress, so that you have access to the Embrace, for example. So you have access to the other stratagems. So depending on what you need that unit to do at that time, you could be like, okay, I need to go in and do Mortals. So let's use the Kiss unit. They can go in and do Mortals. Oh, I need to shut down your Invul saves. So I've got my Caress unit that can go in and just shut down your invuls. Or I need to do impact hits when I charge, so one of them might have an Embrace, right? So that's just something it's like a little tweaky thing, but it gives you access to like a whole other section of strats, right? Which can come in handy like in the middle of a game. Death Jester with the Favor, Harvester, Torment, and 2 Star Weavers. Yep. So that Death Jester will kill entire squads by himself. He's worth every penny. Okay, so to answer your question, what would I cut to upgrade the troops? I really want to keep more small, cheap unit screens are a problem for me right now. Yes. Well, the only thing I could see you cutting, to be honest, would be like the Cavalry Warriors. Like that's the only thing I can see you cutting in this list. Everything else is like you've tweaked the point values to such an extent that you can't really change it too much without changing the whole list concept. Right? But giving you 40 points would give you access to maybe a couple of fusions in there or some neuros, but feel it out. That's what I'm saying. Just feel it out. If you like it, you do. If not, you don't. But at the very least, I would recommend that you change one of the kisses in the squads to like a Caress or an Embrace to give you access to a secondary stratagem, right? So you can have one with a Kiss, one with a Caress or Embrace. It's the same points, and then it lets you just pick and choose the stratagem if you need it at a certain time, right? And then depending on which stratagem you need, you can send one unit up with the other. Like, especially the Embrace, like doing mortals when you charge into combat can really help in some of those wound cap scenarios. Where you're like, I really need to do damage to this, this big thing. It's a wound cap on it. That's like charge in, I can move, I can do mortals in like the psychic phase, I can shoot it, I can now charge it, and then I can combat it or whatever. But I hope that gives you some food for thought, Phil. And with that, we'll dive in to the next list. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's nice to see that you're tweaking the list. It's a slight tweaks, but you can see like your core is right there. You've got your D cannons as a core, the Incarn, the Farseer, the Warlocks, right? You've got your Shroud Runners, like the oldest Shrine units, Dire Avengers, like you. And then you've got that 500 points that you've been tweaking around. Sometimes it was Hellions and the big unit of Harlequins. Now you've tweaked it into like, okay, I'm running more like killy focused like trade style with like a crazy death jester that can like shoot characters that look outside and like can explode and do a crazy amount of damage. So I think you'll have a lot of fun with it. Okay, and last but not least, we have Maxwell's Black Templar list. Okay, Maxwell, let's take a look at your list. Maxwell recently went to his first big GT in Germany. It was 5 or 6 rounds. He took his Black Templars that we've been working on, like developing a list and getting like that competitive mindset built in as an incubi. Of course, I love my Black Templars, so it's nice to see the development of a Black Templar list. And so now after the event, we've talked a little bit and we went over what worked, what didn't work, and now this is like moving on to the next stage. It's like a rework list. So Maxwell, I think you played a game yesterday or today with it and had great results, focusing on the things that we talked about. So let's take a look at this list and see how it looks. 6, yes, okay, great. And of course, Maxwell, you're in chat, which is awesome. Okay, so you've got Chaplain Grimaldus. That was my lovely 11-year-old son who has decided he wants to make dinner and he wants to make spaghetti. And he's like, I'm going to make spaghetti. Okay. High Marshal Helbrecht. Now, I'm impartial to Grimaldus. You and I have already talked about this. I just run a regular chaplain, with like, just he's, 50 points cheaper or whatever. But you seem to really enjoy the being able to he's an epitome of piety, so he can do the denies, and he's got like a bigger footprint, and he's just like a master. So cool. High Marshal Helbrecht, I used him one time recently, and I love him. So I'm a convert. He is awesome. I cannot wait to paint him up. And then of course, my favorite, the Primaris Chaplain on a bike with Tannhauser's bones. Love that guy. He's like 7 wounds with like all damage is reduced to 1 damage. He's so tanky and he's so cheap. He used to be like 140 points. He's like 115 now. Like, he's so good. So I like that you put him in. The 2 units of infiltrators. I've said this before. A Marine army right now will have infiltrators. 1 or 2 units. You should just start your army with that. Unless you play 50 Terminators and your Dark Angels. Then we have 1 Mega Primaris Crusader squad. So it's a full 18 or 19 strong. Power Sword, 4 Power Fists, and then a bunch of Chain Swords. Add the Holy Orb in there for Fight Lost as a little relic, which is great. Yes, I did notice that. It is 20, so a full 20 strong unit. Primaris Crusader squads are one of the toughest units to get through when they're fully buffed. If you are upholding the honor of the Emperor for mini transhuman, a 5-up invulnerable save, and then on top of that you pray to make them a 5-up feel no pain, and or ignore damage, like that's 40 Primaris wounds you have to get through. It is not easy to get through. And then even if you kill them down to the 5 guys left, you have 1 guy with a power sword and 4 power fists, and those are what going to be the ones that do all the damage. It's a great unit. I love it. It used to be 2 squads of 10. We've morphed it into 1 of 20, and so far you seem to like it. I like having it because it's like focuses. People have to kind of target it a lot to kill it, so it's very easy to go like deal with this, right? And a few armies can kill it in a single shooting phase, but not a lot of armies can. But some can, you know. The 5 guys, the 5 amigos, the power sword and 4 fists, with full hit rerolls from Hellbricht. It's crazy. I know, it's so fun. Plus, you can like devout push them, yeah, devout push, and then so move them, run them, devout push them, and then in your opponent's turn, devout push them again, and then they're like so far up the table, it's not even funny. It's just like right in their opponent's face. All right, so in the elites, you have 4 Blade Guard veterans with the Icon of Heinemann. Yeah, and the Champion of the Feast, so makes the Blade Guard Veteran Sergeant really tanky. He ignores AP 1 and 2 with the Storm Shield. He's got a 2-up save, 4-up invul. He's got an extra wound, so he's 4 wounded. And then as soon as he dies, you can bring him back with your Apothecary. Really good into small arms fire, so he just ignores AP 1 and 2, and then AP 3 brings him to 1, 2, 3 up, 4 up. Yeah, so and then AP 3, he's taking his invul, which is really, really good. Primaris Apothecary with Selfless Healer. Yep, something I do like to do with him. I don't know if you did here. But yeah, you did give him the Crusader's Helm. I hadn't seen it there. Crusader's Helm increases his aura, and he can put 1 unit into the Assault Doctrine. That makes that big block of 20 dudes very, very angry. And they're good AP, and they just so good. 2 Redempted Dreadnoughts with Macroplasmas, Gatlings, and Stormbolters. Good. I think they can have their Icarus. I think it's free. So make sure you're putting that Icarus on there as well. The Icarus is free. So make sure you're clicking that and making sure they have the little rocket pod as well. Then we have a Terminator Assault Squad. Okay, cool. Terminator Assault Squad with a Teleport Homer. That's just 5 of them. Yep, good. I like the Teleport Homer. Thunderhammer Storm Shields. Good little shock troop unit, tar pit, Then we have a Vanguard veteran unit with the Bones of Mordred to do mortal wounds on the sergeant. So, give it to the sergeant, take the storm shield off the sergeant, and give him a 2nd lightning claw if you can. So the Bones of Mordred, he gets an additional attack. He gets 1 attack for each lightning claw, plus all of his attacks. So, like that, the Bones of Mordred will have more of a chance of doing damage. And then, of course, you can always allocate. Like, by the time you get to just the Sergeant, that unit's probably dead anyway. So, Bones of Mordred, really cool. So, yeah, like that. Just a little tweak you can probably do with that. And then you have an Eradicator squad of 3, heavy melter rifles, Sergeant Eradicator, and 1 with a multi-melter. Leaves you with 1,996 points. All in all, really good list. A little bit of shooting. Vanguard veterans fill that spot, will give you a little bit of speed, which is what we were talking about during our call. You've got the Assault Terminator squad, which is not as big as a 10 strong, but that's the role of the big, like 20 block now. Right? Infiltrators to score points, Blade Guard and Terminator Assault Squads can kind of shock troops, character support, Apothecary to like be in a central position and bring guys back and things like that, and then the Dreadnoughts that are the more versatile point, which we talked about potentially doing Gladiator Reapers or Gladiators for a little bit cheaper. I like the Redemptors because they can punch and shoot, so it gives you like a secondary combat threat. And all in all, I think this is a nice, more refined version of what you took to the tournament. But yeah, once you play it, make sure you post some comments about it, and we'll definitely kind of continue to break it down and develop it. Okay, so I'm opening the floor real quick to anybody who's in chat. If you have any questions, somebody had asked a question about 10th edition up there. I'm very excited about what they've been showing off for 10th edition, to be honest. It has been a really sort of like nice I want to say, like, it's been nice to see Games Workshop sort of like go through and do some work with that. You know what I mean? And I just want to make sure that you all like know that don't fret. There's going to be changes. Like, I haven't seen the changes, but I've gone through different I've gone through 7 different edition changes. So do not worry in the slightest. Like, these edition changes are not, it's not the end of the world. It's all good, you know. Don't worry about it. And then when time comes, you're gonna have fun regardless. And if you don't want to play the game, just don't play the game. And that's it. That's all it is. Rotate 90 degrees. Rotate, flip horizontally, vertically, horizontally. No. Why didn't you do it? Flip. I'm trying to do something cool here, but it's not letting me do it. Horizontal. There we go. Ta-da! Look at that. Now the chat's in front of me, so I can actually read all this chat. We can actually do some stuff, chatting with all of you folks. The Darkkin, says Andy. So, Games Workshop did give like a cool little review of, I want to say like the of like the Terminators, right? They put up the Terminators. They look really cool. I don't know about you, but you know, toughness 5 Terminators with a 4-up invul? That's pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie. Like, that's literally like a built-in storm shield, right? At least right now. Are they gonna make storm shields like better again? Like better invuls? Oh, buddy, if they bring back the 3-ups, that's gonna be pretty spicy times. You know, and then they showcase what Oath of Moment is. Like, Space Marines are gonna be able to start of the turn, like pick a unit, be like Oath of Moment that thing, and then everything gets rerolled to hits and wounds against it. That's awesome. That's like pick a unit, mark it for death, then just blow it into submission. Like, why not? That's just cool. You know what I mean? And then you can go into like a whole variety of different things. That's just like nuts. Anyway, but let me know what you think as well in the comments. Doesn't seem like anybody has many questions today, which is fine. Excited for boarding patrols in the new edition also, says Nicholas. Yes. Yeah, the boarding patrols should be really fun. I posted the latest boarding action battle report for YouTube members, and then it'll go up for patrons. Mission 5. I played my Black Templars against Necrons. We're having a ton of fun with boarding actions, and they did specifically say that it's going to be compatible with the new game system. So I'm very, very excited to see kind of like how that works out, because it's like the boarding actions are really fun. They're small. They don't take a lot of time to play. You can play a game in like an hour. You know, it takes more time to set up the table than it does to play the game a lot of the times. Going to put in a few Elindrak areas in the paint scheme. Nice. Andy says, do you think you'll ever revisit older videos for updates, for example, collecting Drukari for beginners like me? Yes, 100%. Like, I've looked at a lot of the videos that I've done, and, like, okay, now that the edition is coming to a change, and I feel like I had a house move this year. I set up the new studio. I've continued to work with Mini Wargaming, like doing like 2 videos a week with them, or 2 or 3 videos a week with them. That's almost coming on like a year and a half, almost 2 years of working with Mini Wargaming, which is crazy, and I love it. But I have noticed that like I haven't really done as much sort of like competitive content like I used to, and it is something that I do miss. Like I definitely miss it a lot. So it is something that I'm going to, what is this? No, it's 170. It is something that I'm going to be looking at doing. So I want to do a variety of things like tactical videos. I want to do that's one of the reasons why, check this out. Anybody who hasn't been watching, I literally put my entire collection of Dark Eldar out here. I'm doing like a collecting Dark Eldar video, but it's going to be like a collecting Dark Eldar, preparing for a new edition sort of thing. Like, take stock of your stuff and don't like freak out, and that sort of thing. And I really want to do that sort of lore style tactical videos that I used to do as well, which I think would be really fun. So, look at those elves. I know, Andy, right? They look so cool. I'm very, very excited about them. They look so amazing. Like, just putting it all out, it took me like 45 minutes to like take everything out of boxes and put it onto the table. And now that it's out, I'm like, I don't want to put it away. I just want to show it off to people. It looks so cool. But I do have to film that and edit it and put it up. War, says Paul. Yeah, well, that's true. Fair enough. Okay, folks. Well, we're going to call it a day. Thank you so much. Happy Easter. Don't forget, there is a new battle report coming up on Sunday. As always, I'm on the Patreon Discord, so if you want to hang out or ask me questions and stuff, that's the best way to get in touch with me. Huge shout out to all the channel Patreons, without whom none of this would be possible. It's thanks to the Patreon supporters, like a bunch of these guys that you can see here in pictures, that I get to do what I do, and it's just really, really awesome, and I really appreciate all their support. The best way to support me is on Patreon. The link is down in the description. That helps me travel, make videos, feed my family, so that sort of thing. So thank you very much to everybody who supports me. Every little bit counts, and I really appreciate it. You're all amazing. Other than that, thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out with me. I've been Skari, your grateful host, signing off until next time. Skari out. The Dark Kin. Bye, everybody.